How would you feel? How would you feel if the President of the United States said he wanted to wipe out an entire population? How would you feel if your husband said because he's famous, he can grab him by the pussy? What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do to the black pilot? How would you feel if your husband, President of the United States, was an adjudicated rapist? How would you feel about that? How would you feel?
She filmed 15 minutes of video for the Charlie Kirk Show. She called America unrecognizable. She addressed every single critic by name. She revealed she went to the WHCD specifically to confront journalists who had written about her. She said enough is enough. And then the internet looked at what she was wearing and completely lost its mind. Progressive podcaster Jennifer Welch, co-host of the liberal I've Had It podcast, broke down Kirk's lengthy video and called her outfit and mannerisms batshit crazy, saying it was important to cosplay as an assassin. Cosplaying as an assassin. That is the phrase that defined the week. And it came not from a political opponent making a serious argument, but from a comedian who liked the phrase so much she dressed up as Erika Kirk to say it. This story has layers. And every single one of them is worth examining. Welcome to the Marquee Report. Let's get into all of it. Let's start with what Erika Kirk actually said and wore, because the context of the Wednesday video is essential to understanding every reaction that followed. On Wednesday, April 30th, Erika Kirk appeared on the Charlie Kirk Show dressed entirely in black. Dark jacket. Wide-brimmed hat. The aesthetic was deliberate, mourning crossed with defiance. She was clearly not there to comfort anyone. She was there to fight. She called America unrecognizable in the wake of what she described as utter chaos at the WHCD. She lamented what she called evil forces at play in the country. She said the media in that ballroom were so focused on getting footage during an active shooting that basic human survival instinct had been replaced by content capture. Then she revealed something nobody expected. She said she went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner specifically to confront journalists who had written about her, to have a conversation with them face to face rather than letting them write about her from a distance. She addressed Candace Owens by name. She addressed comedian Drewski by name. She addressed the people calling her unfit to be CEO. She said every morning she wakes up to a new headline lying about her. Kirk said every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO, and I have Candace Owens claiming that I murdered my husband. That last line, Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband, is the most explosive sentence Erika Kirk has publicly spoken since Charlie died. She has been careful until now to avoid directly naming the most serious accusation Owens has leveled at her. On Wednesday she said it out loud. On camera. On her dead husband's show. Enter Jennifer Welch, co-host of the I've Had It podcast. Self-described progressive. Someone who has built an audience on liberal commentary delivered with comedy and zero filter. Welch did not just comment on Erika's video. She recreated it. She dressed up as Erika, mimicking the all-black outfit, the dramatic presentation, the wide-brimmed hat energy, and broke down the video for her own audience while her co-host Angie Pumps Sullivan sat next to her crying with laughter. Welch said that is grossly dishonest when we're speaking about assassins. It's important to cosplay as an assassin, and I want to make sure, Erika Kirk, that you remember that your late husband who should not have died because we oppose gun violence. We support cosplay, but we oppose gun violence. The argument Welch is making here, beneath the comedy, is specific. She is saying that Erika Kirk wearing an all-black dramatic outfit 5 days after a shooting, 2 days after saying she wanted to go home, is a contradiction that cannot be explained away. That the widow presenting herself as a defiant figure dressed in black in the wake of gun violence, while her late husband was killed by gun violence, is either tone-deaf, hypocritical, or deliberately provocative. Welch added sometimes art imitates life in an apparent reference to comedian Drewski's viral parody skit of Erika Kirk. And then Welch turned the camera on herself. She looked directly into it and said, "If you think I look ridiculous and I'm acting ridiculous, you are spot on. This is crazy. I chose to dress like an assassin. I chose to put this hat on." She was self-aware enough to acknowledge the absurdity of what she was doing. Which actually made the point land harder, not softer. Here is the core of Welch's argument, stripped of the comedy, because it deserves to be examined seriously. Welch pointed out Kirk's hypocrisy, saying, "I just cannot state enough, she came out of a 24-hour break of spending time with her family dressed as an assassin." The timeline Welch is highlighting is genuinely striking. On Saturday, April 25, Erika Kirk was escorted out of the WHCD in tears, saying, "I just want to go home." On Sunday, she posted that she was taking time with her family and that enough is enough. On Monday, she announced a Wednesday appearance. On Wednesday, she walked out in full dramatic black to address the nation on her late husband's show. The speed of that transition, from trauma to confrontation, from "I just want to go home" to appearing in what critics immediately called an assassin aesthetic, is what gave the cosplaying criticism its cultural traction. Whether that criticism is fair depends entirely on how you interpret what Erika Kirk was doing with that outfit. Was she deliberately choosing a powerful visual to signal defiance and strength? Absolutely yes. Was she conscious of the symbolism of all black given everything that had just happened? Almost certainly yes. Did she consider how that choice would land with people who were already primed to see everything she does as performance? That is the question she will have to reckon with. Welch also played video of various offensive comments that Charlie made when he was alive before saying, "All right, so as you can see, racism is ubiquitous at Turning Point USA. You can dress like an assassin and you can try to gaslight in a very dramatic way that your organization isn't racist, but videos live forever." This is where Welch's segment crossed from comedy into something with a sharper edge. Bringing Charlie Kirk's past statements into a segment about Erika's outfit shifts the target from a fashion choice to a broader indictment of the organization itself. Step back and look at what is actually happening this week, because it is extraordinary when you lay it all out. In the space of 7 days, Erika Kirk has been evacuated from a shooting at the most formally protected political dinner in America, called fake and diabolical online for crying during the evacuation, told by a conservative podcaster to resign and go raise her children, parroted by a progressive podcast for cosplaying as an assassin, had her late husband's past statements weaponized against her organization, and continued to show up, to Iowa, to the Charlie Kirk Show, to every obligation on her calendar, anyway. That is not a normal 7 days. For anyone. Under any circumstances. The people attacking her from the right, Jason Whitlock, the chapter presidents who resigned, the TPUSA insiders expressing doubt, are arguing about her fitness to lead a conservative political organization. Those are substantive arguments that deserve substantive engagement. The people attacking her from the left, Jennifer Welch, the I've Had It podcast audience, the progressive commentariat, are engaging with her as a cultural figure and a symbol of the political movement she represents. Their criticism is not really about Erika Kirk the person. It is about what she represents to them. TPUSA. Conservative politics. Gun rights. Trump. Charlie Kirk's legacy. All of it gets collapsed into a 15-minute video and a wide-brimmed black hat. Neither set of critics is making space for the human being inside the symbol. And that gap, between Erika Kirk as target and Erika Kirk as person, is where this entire story lives. Here is where everything stands as of today. Jennifer Welch's cosplaying as an assassin segment has gone viral. The I've Had It podcast clip is circulating widely across progressive social media. The conservative response has been predictably defensive, calling Welch's segment disrespectful to a widow and to the victims of gun violence. Erika Kirk has not responded to Welch. She went to Iowa State on Thursday. She spoke alone. Without J.D. Vance. 5 days after a shooting. In front of a college campus audience that came specifically to see what she would do next. Whether the all-black Wednesday video was a political masterstroke or a communications disaster, Whether the cosplay criticism is a legitimate point or opportunistic mockery of a grieving widow, the outcome is the same. Erika Kirk is the most talked about figure in the conservative movement right now. More coverage. More scrutiny. More parody. More defenders. More attackers. More everything. Charlie Kirk spent years making himself impossible to ignore. 7 months after his death, his widow has achieved the same thing, in a completely different way, through a completely different path, with a completely different set of enemies and allies than he ever had. Whether that is what she intended or not, it is undeniably what she has built. This has been the Marquee Report, serious detailed coverage of the stories shaping the world right now. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. See you on the next one.